This video we're talking about sleep and the impact it has on fat loss and muscle gain. The answer is probably going to be a bit different to what you're thinking, so stay tuned if you're interested. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jodie and I help you change your beliefs so you can change your body, your health, and your life. So the simple answer to all of this, does sleep really matter for fat loss and muscle gain? Of course it does. Otherwise there wouldn't be millions of coaches out there saying you need to focus on the basics: food, training, stress minimization, and sleep, right? But the extent to which it matters really depends on where you're at in your journey and what your specific goal is. Your starting point and where you're at in your fitness journey, whether that is the very beginning or a bit more along or whether you're advanced, that makes such a difference in terms of what you need to be doing and what you really need to be prioritizing. That's why you can't just look at what I'm doing in terms of my journey and where I'm at. Even if we have the same goals, you can't compare yourself to what I'm doing and just start doing what I'm doing thinking it's going to work the same for you, because it's probably not. It might to an extent depending on where you're at, but in a lot of cases at the very beginning or even up to where you're like probably more intermediate in your journey, you can get away with a lot more than what I can at the moment. So I would consider myself more advanced based on the strength standards, which is what I use to determine whether you are a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And that means because of my goals at the moment, I have a lot less flexibility in terms of my food, in terms of training, in terms of sleep, in terms of stress. Like, I need to be nailing all of those. But if you're just starting out, you can focus just on your training and have a lot more flexibility around everything else in terms of not being perfect and still make a lot of progress. But anyway, I wanted to answer this question I got directly on sleep because I think it's going to help you. It addresses a few things in here and it's not as boring as just giving you kind of that answer. So it's a long message, so I'm just going to read out bit by bit and respond to it. So far, I'm doing good in my journey. The one issue I do have is sleep. I'm kind of struggling with insomnia for a while now. I tend to sleep for 6 hours and it's not like I'm staying up all night partying. I go to bed at 9 and wake up at weird hours and can't go back to sleep. I know I can't build muscle with 6 hours of sleep, but I'm lifting 4 to 5 days a week. I'm on a deficit. I'm eating healthier than ever, but I'm getting 6 hours of sleep. Sometimes I get over 7, blah, blah, blah. So let's come back to this, right? This is important. I'm on a deficit and you're trying to build muscle. That's your first problem, right? It's not actually the sleep, it's your food. So you need to focus on your food first. If you want to build muscle, even if you want to lose body fat at the same time and recomp, you shouldn't be in a deficit. You need to be eating at maintenance. There's going to be minimal muscle that you can build in a deficit depending on your starting point again, but that is going to help you more than your sleep right now. As long as you are following a good program and you are getting stronger in that program, even with 6 hours sleep, yes, ideally you want to be getting 7 to 8 hours, but if you're still able to perform well in that program and push the weights up and progressively overload most weeks, like some weeks you won't, and that's normal, but overall, over time, if you're still getting stronger, if you're still able to push hard and progressively overload, then you're going to be making progress regardless. It's only when you get to a point where you are so exhausted and so fatigued and you can't push yourself, you feel drained, you're not motivated anymore, that's when sleep starts to become an issue. And what you might need to do if you aren't able to sleep more, you might need to reduce your training volume so that you find you can recover better. You might need to increase your calories, which you need to do anyway, because if your goal is to build muscle and lose body fat, you should be at maintenance, not in a deficit. Now this other part, I'm eating healthier than ever. Remember, healthy food doesn't necessarily equal fat loss and muscle gain. You can include treat foods. You can follow that 80-20 rule where you have 80% whole foods, 20% treat foods. That's fine. What matters is your calorie intake, your protein intake, your carbs really matter as well, especially if you are struggling with sleep. So some things that might actually help you in terms of this insomnia is making sure you are eating some carbs at nighttime. If you find you're waking up at particular hours in the morning, there could be various reasons for this, but you can try having honey before you go to bed, a tablespoon of honey, and that might help you sleep through the night. You can also try having magnesium. I would recommend magnesium glycinate, not just magnesium from the pharmacy or chemist, because the magnesium you often get from just the shops, it's magnesium oxide. It's different, it's absorbed differently to magnesium glycinate. There's other variations of magnesium which work as well, but magnesium glycinate is what I would recommend if you're having trouble with sleep. So you can try having that a couple of hours before bed and see if that helps. And most of us are deficient in magnesium anyway these days because there's just not as much of it in the soil as there used to be. So even if you eat a lot of whole foods, a lot of healthy foods, you might not be getting enough, especially if you're weight training as well and using more magnesium. So that is what I would recommend to start. Something else that has helped me when I have trouble falling asleep, I have trouble with sleep as well. And this is what I mean, like I've been able to make lots of progress in my journey, even though there will be phases where I'm getting 6 hours of sleep a night. There will be phases where I may be getting 5.5 hours sometimes. And even now I'm averaging around 7 hours, but some nights I get 6 hours, some nights I get 8 hours. I have the same sleep routine. I try and stick to that, but you know, some nights I wake up during the night as well, and it is what it is, and we can only keep doing our best. Like sometimes sleep and stress are really hard to control, right? Like we can only do our best to manage them, and as long as you are, you're gonna keep making progress. So try not to stress about it, because at the end of the day, it's that stress that is actually going to be detrimental to your muscle gain and your fat loss. It's not the lack of sleep, even though lack of sleep is technically a stress on the body. So it's like managing that stress. A deficit is a stress on the body, weight training is a stress on the body. So that's what you need to do. If you're adding more stress to the mix by stressing about not getting enough sleep, that's going to make things worse, not better. So anyway, something else that I tried a while ago and really found helpful in terms of getting to sleep when I was having trouble turning my brain off, which I often do, was CBD oil. So I had a drop of that like before going to bed pretty much, and I found that really good for just being able to go zen and like fall asleep. All right, the next part of the question is, when Google says 7+ hours of sleep, this is how my sleep routine looks. I sleep at 9, wake up at 3, fall back asleep maybe 40 minutes later. Sometimes I get 7 hours and sometimes a little over 6. Would I still build muscle and lose fat? Yes, you will, as I've already discussed, but also if you're falling back asleep, that counts. Like even if your sleep is disrupted, what I found actually since getting my Aura ring, right, I track all my sleep, I track when I wake up and like my deep sleep, my REM sleep, all of that. And what happens is if I only get 6 hours of sleep, but then I end up having a nap during the day, that will add to my sleep and it will improve my recovery rate. It will improve all my stats basically. So what I would say to finish is you're already doing great by having a routine. Like that is actually really important when it comes to sleep. Going to bed the same time every night, waking up the same time every morning, including on weekends. If you're in a routine like that and still waking up during the night, try the other things I said and see if that helps. And remember, whatever you read on Google or YouTube, including my videos, you have to remember they're general. Even when I have skinny fat specific videos, right? They are niched down a little bit, but there's still so many individuals within that skinny fat population who are starting from slightly different points, have slightly different dieting histories, have slightly different injuries or biomechanics or so many differences. And so that is why it's still general advice. And a lot of that general advice will be useful for majority of you, but there's still nuances in there that you have to be mindful of. And that is why individual programs and individual macros, like they are going to help better than just a generalized program or general macros. Anyway, that is all for this video. I hope it helps. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me or put a comment below. If you liked it, please like it. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. And if that is the case, I will see you in the next video.